Hi. 2 weeks ago, I posted my movie Venus in Periphery that I filmed in 2016 on YouTube, and I asked on my social media and friends to send me questions about the movie, and yeah, I'm gonna answer them now. Yeah, thank you to everyone who sent the questions. I translated some of them from German to English, and I hope I did them justice. Yeah, let's start. Please forgive me if there are many cuts in this video because it's the first time I'm doing something like this. So one question that was asked from a couple of people in a bit different ways was what motivated this film? In other words, what was the inspiration for it? How did you discover the Venus project? Where did you first hear about it? Yeah, could you talk a little bit about how the project came together? How did the idea how did the idea find you? How long did it take to develop? It came together quite quickly. So I first had the idea in 2015, beginning of 2015. It started like in my teens or something. I was really interested in alternative economic systems. Especially in 2015, I really got into it again and started researching and wanted to combine that thirst for finding something that I would resonate with. Really, one of the first things that you'll find is like the Venus project. It's been around I love the concept and ideas and in how much details it is thought through and the passion behind it. But I really was curious about what would it take for someone to dedicate their life to something like this, to an endeavor like this. And I was really fascinated by the person behind it, Jacque Fresco. And yeah, and I was like, I really want to meet this person. And usually my movies have portraits and people in their center. At the time of the shoot, he was 99 years old, and I knew, like, if I want to meet this guy, I better do it now than next year. And so I applied for funds in May for the project. I did have to do some rewriting of the funds because the first concept wasn't detailed enough, so I rewrote for my concept for the funds in September, and it was actually approved in November. And like, it was very short planning. Like, we went, I think 2 weeks after it was approved, we went to Florida, and I think I had already booked the flight for myself, and we were only a team of 2 people. It was me and my sound designer, Wolf Maximilian Liebig. Yeah, next question was from Jaime, and it was, what was your research material? I read both of Jacque Fresco's books, The Best That Money Can't Buy and Future by Design. The Best That Money Can't Buy, it really gives you a good overview of like how the Venus project, this new economy system, could be structured and look like, and the philosophy and thoughts behind it. And yeah, I definitely recommend reading it. Also, Future by Design, you can just download it, as far as I know, on the website. For them, it's really about getting their message and the information about them out. So really, almost any question you could have regarding the Venus project, it's on their website. There's a special Q&A site on their website that really goes into details. So the next questions are by Steffi. Thank you so much for sending me all these questions. Yeah, so which camera did you use? That was the ARRI SR2. And maybe just a little side note to working on 16mm and working with the ARRI SR2. I really love this camera and I really love its aesthetic, but it's like really heavy. And I honestly considered doing like arm workout before the shoot. But since I, until the very last minute, sort of didn't know if the funding would be approved, I didn't really find the motivation to really go on like in fitness studio to work out, but it would have helped. Like pretty much always after 15 minutes of like holding it, I had like muscle cramps in my arms and I had to put it down. On which film material did you shoot? That's Kodak Vision 3, and I used 250D and 500T material. Why did you choose to do the sound asynchron? Did you make the decision before or during the film shoot? It was really a lot the style that dictated it being asynchron and the way I wanted to shoot, like the freedom I wanted to take in being asynchron. And I thought like, yeah, let's see what sort of effects this could lead to. It became more and more clear. I knew it from the start that it would be that way before we started shooting, but it became more and more apparent what complications that might entail or what sort of effects we could try out. If you work with Super 16mm film, there's no sound that's been recorded by the camera, so that makes it like additionally a bit complicated to have synchronicity if you're not if you want to be spontaneous in the way you film, and you're not shooting in a classical interview environment, because I knew I didn't want to have talking heads in the film just because of how talking heads can feel a bit stale. Currently, the film only exists as a DCP. Why not on film? I would love to have a 35mm blow-up of the film, and I'm still planning on maybe if I have the means for it in the future to do that. Currently, it was more like a problem of not having the funding for a 35mm blow-up, which is like costs like a ton with a 21-minute movie. So that's actually the only reason, and I really hope that in the future I might be able to still do that, because I think that would be gorgeous and really suit the original material. Full disclosure, I went vegan 6 years ago, and Super 8 and Super 16mm film material has up to now been the only non-vegan product. Sadly, it contains gelatin that I've been investing money into since. I recently made the decision to stop doing so until there is a viable vegan alternative for film material found. It's your first non-silent film in many years. What was your approach? And same thing with using color. Did you consider shooting it in black and white? What was your thought process? Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it was really my first movie with sound in many, many years. In movies before, I really loved just focusing on what emotions and atmospheres you could just convey with using purely the image. But with this movie, I knew it was so much about the philosophy and about the concepts behind it that I really wanted to have people talk, and especially have Jacque Fresco talk about his ideas. And I thought like his voice is also important to his character. With color, I did one color movie the year before, 16 times 4 hands. This one, I think I was very inspired by a lot of like rogue movies like that were maybe shot in the 70s. Color palettes that are like in Paris, Texas, the US landscape. Also the Venus Project, its designs, I really wanted to shoot it in color. Also, regarding the look and color of the movie, did you come up with a concept for it? I find it very beautiful. Thank you so much. I just think a lot of it is just thanks to the Super 16 material, because just the colors you get, and that's a big part of why I really love to shoot on Super 16 when it comes to color. It's just the color range is not something you can try and recreate it on video, but I've actually never seen like an example where I really felt it was really equal to the color scheme you get, and it's very soft, and it's maybe has sometimes a bit more like bluish tones in them, and the pastels and the skin colors are just really gorgeous on Super 16. So I think a lot of the aesthetic is just due to the film material. I mean, there's sometimes that there are environments I just don't want to shoot in because I feel like they don't fit into the style of the movie, with the Venus project in itself being such a design project. So everything there is very connected to each other. So it was easy to have like a congruent design while filming there. So next questions are by Xenia and David. Thank you so much for your questions. Why did you decide not to have subtitles for Jacque Fresco? I guess it's the question is specifically asked for Jacque Fresco because he has a little bit of a maybe scratchy voice. I do think that if you're like your native language is like American, then you can probably understand it a lot easier. Also, what made you decide to shoot outside of the Venus project to let the periphery leak into the project? There is like a story to it that we did say like, if we can just keep it, if we can just get away with just filming everything there at the Venus project, then we would do that. But we did find, I wanted to have like a very personal approach to the movie, and it was a bit hard to get that there, or like personal insights. And Jacque and Roxanne, they're very professional in the way they present themselves and in the work they do. So they were very much about not showing much about their private life, and just really giving out information that's about the Venus project, specifically about the Venus project. And they were very open about filming at their vicinities and about showing all their models and having us have access to the talks and everything. But everything that went beyond that, everything that went beyond what it was to present the Venus project, we didn't have access to it. So I personally am really interested in these very private, personal moments of people, and I was kind of missing that. So we made a decision, we gave ourselves a time frame of, if by, I think it was 2 weeks, we don't have enough footage that we find fascinating on that level, on that more personal level, we're going to go and we're going to just go on a road movie and explore the area around the Venus project more. And so after 2 weeks we did that. I really wanted to see, because I feel there is such a like yearning for having a more like connected world, and I find it fascinating because in Florida a lot of people are still very religious and have like God as their guideline, and in a way what Jacque says about that he himself is not religious, but he actually uses what people say about religion and puts it into practice, and how a world would look like if certain ideals in that way would be put into practice. And yeah, that aspect. And I'm really happy how open people in Florida were about being filmed. That was really a dream. Like pretty much everybody who we asked if they could be in our movie and if we could film them said yes. And so I really had a fun time. And they were very natural in front of the camera as well. So I had a really fun time shooting outside in the periphery of the Venus project. How long did the shoot in Florida take? And so the shoot in Florida took 5 weeks. From these weeks, we spent like 1.5 weeks in the periphery and 3 weeks shooting at the Venus project. So Paloma asks, in a film class I did once in college, the professor said that all movies have a message. Are you willing to openly share the message of this film, or should each viewer interpret it for him or herself? Yeah, thank you so much for the question. And I do want a reviewer to interpret it in their own way. I think like the film should speak for itself, and I really heard different feedbacks, very different feedbacks from people, really depending a lot on their own view of the world and of their own attitude towards if they think something like this could be possible, or if they think yeah, that's just too utopian. There are a lot of movies about the Venus project online, and on YouTube you can find a lot of information on it and videos about it, but I wanted to make a movie that's more of exploration, a personal exploration, and an exploration about the people's attitudes and philosophies in general, and have that interwoven with the Venus project, and maybe have, in a way, supported in that way by bringing awareness to it in a new approach. Also, I believe that if you want to create something big, like something really big, like a new economy system, it's like it has to be like group effort, and there has to be a lot of collaboration of people of many sorts. And so I really wanted to have that like leak into the movie, that to have like have this proposition in form of the Venus project, this really amazing proposition, but also have also have a notion of including or give people an input of what it could mean to include a lot of people into something like this, to really make it happen, and maybe give food for thought in where there could be differences and where there could be actually similarities where one maybe could have thought there weren't. So the next question is from Lisa, and it's what is your take on Jacque Fresco's definition of love? I really love this question. I hope I can give a good answer to it, because it's such a complex and difficult theme. So in the movie, or Jacque Fresco says that he wants to replace the word love with being extensional to someone, because the word love is so misconstrued, and being extensional to someone is, sort of being helpful, being like an extension in things that you do for that person. And I do feel that in our society we have the word love very misconstrued in so many ways, and people inflict pain on each other and use the word love while doing so. I guess my own definition of love is like taking something in as your own, like pulling something towards you. I think I don't agree with it is that you could still do things, you could still be extensional to someone while also being resentful of being that extensional, and then it's you can be extensional in a non-loving way. But in a way it also correlates a little bit with my own philosophy, because I think if you feel that something is extensional to yourself, you also take it in as yourself, or you feel it's like an extension of you, so you don't separate yourself from it. I hope I gave it a good try in answering it in this format. So the next question is by Helena, and she asks, in the movie you see a few smaller buildings in the style of Jacque Frescos Models. Does a city after this design already exist? Is it being built? Or is all still theoretical and its realization dependent on more funding? So at the Venus project in Venus, Florida, there are a couple of buildings that have been built after this design. They're still like prototypes, because in their function they're not as like intrinsic or advanced yet as like the ultimate vision for these buildings would be. And they are used for like Jacque, like as seen in the movie, Jacque and Roxanne, or now Roxanne, does tours every Saturday, and they use these buildings to give people a good idea of how this could look like. And their vision would be to, in the future, have like sort of like now you have like the Harry Potter experience, where you can go to Hogwarts and all these places that you see in the movie, and you can experience them for yourself to feel like you're in the movie. And something like that they envision to have for the Venus project in the future. So you could go there almost like an amusement park and really feel like how it could feel to live in a city with that sort of economic system. And also ultimate goal would be for them to have like a prototype city one day. But at the moment it is really dependent on funds, that that don't exist at this point. And so, yeah, these are like more semi-prototypes that exist there. Our last questions are from Peter, and he asks, what did you ask people to get the statements, the people in the Periphery? And yeah, we asked very simple, cheesy questions. It was, are you happy with how things are now? What would you want to change? And how would an ideal world look like to you? Did they know about the Venus project in their vicinity? Actually, a lot of people just said like, oh yeah, they heard about something like that. They might have not known the exact title. So I would say like over 50% knew about it, but didn't know the exact name or what it exactly was about. They just had like a notion that something like that, they heard about it before and that it did exist in their vicinity. Okay, thank you again for sending me all your questions. And I had really a lot of fun, like reminiscing on the process of making the movie and going through the old photos. And I actually really got inspired to make another video where it's really about the adventure of doing a documentary, especially when you're doing a road movie. But that is for a little bit later, because right now I'm planning on doing a series on the Konohana family. I spent 2 months there last year. Konohana family is a self-sustaining spiritual eco-community, and yeah, really fascinating structure, way of working with each other, non-hierarchical way of living in a 85 people community. And yeah, I'm gonna start the series next week. But yeah, please stay tuned to that series. And yeah, thank you for watching till the end. Might have been a bit rough editing, but yeah, I'm new to this. Thank you so much, and yeah, have a good day. See you soon. And if you're not subscribed, please subscribe below. Bye.
Okay, got it. Wait. Roxanne, smile.